Hey, it's Soul, and welcome back to Warcraft Weekly, the show that takes Warcraft's biggest news and controversies and minimizes it. Okay, minimizes it. Hello! I would love it if you were to hit that like button, subscribe to make that number get bigger, and let's jump right into Burning Crusade Classic Phase 5 with the opening of the Isle of quel'danas, it's one of WoW's most celebrated experiences, I think. It felt a bit like kind of like the old days of gathering materials, way back in vanilla days. We gather those materials to open up the AQ gates, only this time, players banded together to break the Burning Legion's assault on the Sunwell. Daily quests slowly open up more opportunities for more quests as we pushed the Legion back and got more of that gear, and Raiders slammed Sunwell Plateau in a month or so long campaign, taking down some of the game's most difficult and memorable bosses ever. And it was cleared in less than an hour. And we really shouldn't be surprised, I don't think. In this most recent race, Chinese Guild Old School came away with a decisive win, and not a nerd scream was heard, merely the pearly whites of a champion. I was watching, and I was locked on this dude who looked super intense, and he had this sort of oral fixation that made me wonder if after the kill, was he gonna pull out a cigar, light it up, stare straight into the camera, and just let it rip without even blinking? But anyway, big grats, you wholesome son of a bitch, you. Anyway, back in my days, my team and I had Karazhan on super hard farm. So I never got to play 25 mans when they were current, and so I had no idea that the time gating on raids went as far back as that, with the first 3 bosses of Sunwell available on patch day, with one additional boss releasing after 2 weeks, and then another after 3 weeks, and then 3 weeks again. It was pretty crazy how these days the sentiment is not shared if you look at the SFO raid. But I've got to throw this in there too. Maybe the Raid Finder release schedule should also have a look at, because even when considering farming easier difficulties for those tier set pieces, what are the other issues, really, to prevent a faster or even simultaneous release as the other difficulties? Speaking of raids, as predicted, last week the Mythic Hall of Fame for Sepulchre of the First Ones has closed. For the Horde. A quick glance at the top 10 tells a story that, in terms of representation, we've got really skilled folks in the Europe and the China regions. The top 100 tells a similar story, and then you can, make up whatever narrative you want from that. I just thought that this information would be fun to share. But now eyes turn to the Alliance, which since last week has inched closer to clearing their Hall of Fame. 4 of the top 10 Alliance guilds happen to be from the Americas region, so again, make up your own story and have fun with it. The numbers that we see here are easy to make fun of, like lol Alliance, they're a bunch of baddies or something, or lol Blizzard, look at the imbalance that you have caused. Another reminder that historically the Alliance has been behind the Horde since the Hall of Fame first opened up back in Battle for Azeroth, and is likely going to complete their Hall of Fame in about a month. It's not just going to happen on its own though. Over the next few weeks, the WoW team is going to lay down even more targeted nerfs to help teams overcome certain mechanics, like breakpoints and phases. DPS and healing requirements are going to get adjusted to help folks along. This is likely going to spill over to heroic and normal difficulties too, whenever that applies. But this raises a discussion on how historically nerfs have happened over time. There's what we see the most these days, these hot fixes and tweaks that the team can apply real time. There were other ways content naturally got nerfed over time way back in the day, which were in some ways blunt and some ways, they seem pretty elegant. Hellscream's War Song, back in Icecrown Citadel days, gave a flat throughput and health buff. In Warlords of Draenor, we had a legendary ring at the end, accessible to pretty much everyone, that grew a little bit stronger as we continued raiding. In Legion, artifact weapons and the Concordance of the Legion fall buff kept getting stronger. In fact, during Legion and Battle for Azeroth, Titan Forging played a role of giving players that steady chance of obtaining item level beyond their means. All these little tools are things that the WoW team has and can employ, but what works best? My opinion, the Hellscream buff, which could be turned off by the way, it was cool, but it was very blunt, and back then encounter design wasn't nearly what it is now. The other natural nerfs only really applied to individual characters. A fresh character or alt wouldn't see the benefits of Titan Forging or those legendary doohickeys like immediately, and it also caused a big gulf in power between that fresh alt and that big beefy main. The difference though is that these features were thought up ahead of time, while during Shadowlands the team didn't really have that kind of knob to turn, so they had no choice but to be reactionary. I'm bringing this up mostly because, well, it just sounded like an interesting design discussion, so feel free to chime in. Back to the real topic though, this is more than likely the last that we're going to see the Hall of Fame, at least in this form. 925 with cross-faction raiding and Season 4 content, which is a remix of raids, it's probably not going to have its own Hall of Fame. So now's the time to talk about what we would like to see in the future in Dragonflight. We can start spouting enough ideas, plant the seed in people's heads, whatever. Most popular thought so far is to just list the top like 100 or 200 guilds, regardless of faction. It makes me wonder, though, if the Hall of Fame tracks the same way as achievements, that could possibly cause some problems if it just so happens that some of the top guilds go cross-faction, and so it means that they couldn't immediately be tracked. So there are some issues to point out, but I'd like to hear some of your ideas and thoughts. A 925 build dropped a little bit later in the week. I don't do story spoilers in my PTR coverage outside of like really very broad overviews. It doesn't hurt to mention that like Blood Elves and Dark Iron Dwarves are going to have at least a questline available offering a very snazzy transmog that I should add that will be usable outside of their respective races, so yay. It doesn't seem to apply to the Paladin-specific Blood Knight transmog though, shattering more than a few dreams I'm sure, but I bet that there's more stuff to come. I think there's more to come. Maybe a few lore-related quests with a few notable characters. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure, because it seems like portions of 9.2.5 are encrypted. I talked about this in a quick sort of surprise video with speculation as to what it is that could be encrypted. Could it be heritage armor? Maybe character customization options to nail that Dark Ranger look that folks have been asking for. Maybe even a new race. Or maybe something for the store. Yeah, probably. What makes this really curious is that even the splash screen that you see when first logging in for a new patch is also hidden from us. It tells me that the moment that we log in, we're going to be in for a treat. A brief, whoa sort of moment before we remember that, oh right, Season 4 isn't going to start yet and there's already literally nothing to do. But I at least want to give a half applause to the WoW team for being up for hiding something. Really, I would have been pleasantly surprised to find a quest from my Blood Elf to head back to Silvermoon to do stuff, although I still wouldn't be able to fly. I'd even be more surprised to get a cool transmog that only Blood Elf Paladins could get, and I'd drink the tears of the have-nots because they wouldn't be able to get that same set. Anyway, not much else in this build. The Season 4 KSM mount finally got its change in-game and it's looking quite fabulous. And we also have a social contract that does not spark any controversy at all. It only shows up on first boot, same as how the Eula pops back in now and then because there was a change. Most of us are only going to see this like a few times ever. I even tried to make it or the Eula pop back up, and apparently that's a server-side thing. I just wasn't able to do it. So what I'm going to do right now is read it to you. I'm going to subject you to this language, and I'll remind you to use the navigation thing below to go to where you want to go. Just make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to unlock that feature. And here we go. Hail, traveler, and welcome to the World of Warcraft. Azeroth is a living world of people like you, other players with different backgrounds, cultures, experiences, and histories who have all come together to play the World of Warcraft. Every player deserves to have a world that they feel safe in, so please take a minute to read our social contract. While in Azeroth, do your best to, connect with other players and make friends. Being courteous in group content can help you and your teammates have the best time possible. Sending a friendly hello message can help set your group up for success. Play as a team with your fellow players, whether in dungeons, raids, battlegrounds, arenas, or out questing in the world. Do your best to support your team through your communication and behaviors so that you can all celebrate your success together. Assist other players that you encounter in the world. Maybe they need some help defeating a tough monster, or maybe they could use a little healing. Help answer questions others have in chat channels like General or Trade. We were all newbies once. One person offering some help can go a long way. We recognize that the internet is not always a safe haven. With that in mind, please note that the following behaviors are not accepted in Azeroth. Hate speech, including negative comments that target another player's identity, including aspects like race, gender, or ability. Harassment, threats, or abusive derogatory language and behaviors. Spamming, advertising, or other disruptive behaviors. If you harm your fellow adventurers with any of the above behaviors, you are subject to punishment up to and including suspension of your account. It's a big world out there with all sorts of people in it, so please try to be respectful of each other, and if you ever feel like somebody is acting against this code, please report those behaviors so that our team can look into it. Together, you can help us make the World of Warcraft a safe home away from home for everyone. It says in Azeroth, so can I still be toxic in the Outlands and Draenor and the Shadowlands? You know, he actually makes a good point. Checkmate, Blizz. So that's just one of the awkward takes and reactions coming from people after seeing screenshots of this going around the internet. On one side, folks are like, this is it. Blizzard is cracking down on all of those degens and those harassers and those /spitters who kick people because I don't play as well as them. But this isn't quite what they think it is. On a different side, some folks be like, this is it. Blizzard is going like full tyranny. Here comes the thought police, and with those SJ dubs, they're gonna be deputized. This isn't quite what they think it is either. Now, you do have to agree to this thing. That's because the lower half of this does bring up enforceable parts of the end user license agreement, or the EULA, which you also must accept in order to play. But the verbiage on the top half, it's not a set of rules or even guidelines, it's merely meant to be welcoming and reassuring to new players, while giving reminders to us old grizzled vets who think that we know better than everybody that we ought to do our best. We don't have to, but we ought to do our best to be welcome and reassuring to players both new and old. You can still kick people from a group if they suck. You can still expect to be kicked from a group if you're a jerk. There is no deadline. There's no quota to help people run content or group together, or else there's no rule that you can't get upset over something. But there is no excuse for, gamer words, and people can report you for it. I don't mean to offend, and I suppose I will offend people, but if you believe that this thing means that you are being compelled to be nice and courteous and helpful, allow me to reassure you. You're wrong, and you're tripping. So I want to end this by sticking to the top half of this social contract thing about helping people. And I invite you, maybe I'm challenging you to try out this idea if you're able to. And it's very easy. First, you need to be level 60. You need to have completed 3,000 quests or something like that. Maybe I missed an update, but the requirements seem to have gone down a lot since patch 9.0.5. But these requirements allow you to be a mentor, a helper person. You get a little icon on your head, and you can see people with little Murloc icons above their heads. Those players are on new accounts. A lot of them are in fact new players, but many are also players who are probably back from a very long break. You can become a mentor by talking to one of these NPCs somewhere here on the side, and they're by the faction embassy. Becoming a mentor, by the way, it is character specific. You gotta sign up on each of your characters if you wanted to. So again, my challenge to you is to become a mentor and to help one person. Not one a day or one a week or one a month, but just one. That's it. Just kind of introduce you to it. Every now and then, if you watch this newcomer chat go, you're going to see a question from these folks who are just asking for help. Now, I don't recommend answering the call if someone's like, hey, can you help me complete this whole quest line or kill something or carry me or whatever? I mean, you can, but me personally, I stick to the easy stuff. If someone's got a question and you've got the time to answer and you know the answer, chime in. If someone's asking for a recommended class, feel free to give your take based on your experience. And that's it. I consider it bad taste to tell someone who's asking in newcomer chat, oh yeah, just go to wowhead.com. They know everything. I don't recommend doing that instead of giving an answer. I mean, I get it if you're trying to help. It's not a bad tip to give, but these folks are reaching out. And if it's me, I try to give them that return courtesy. I'm only encouraging you to help out one time on your own time. It might not give the fulfillment of 2 chests in the key, but maybe you'll make someone's experience a tiny bit better. That's what this screen thing is trying to do. It's just a little bit of positive welcoming and encouragement, followed by what the game will try to protect you from. That's the show, and here's a near wipe.
Make this. Wow.
The fuck was that?
And middle.
I don't know how
go.
you made that.
What's your horsey at, Soul?
What's my what?
Horsey.
Horse.
I have a horse.
Mages don't have any more blinks, I don't think. Maybe Arth does, because he's fire. I don't know.
Coming down.
Holy shit, how the fuck are you getting that?
Coming down again.
Oh my god, that's really fast.
You guys got it.
Going out.
You got it.
Don't get pulled through the traps. Don't get pulled through the... Clean as fuck.
Okay.
Jesus Christ, best kill ever.
Artist dodging so many fucking else.
What the fuck just happened?
A massacre of POW.
Mages
Dude,
doing mage
Yeah.
things.
good job.
Blinking
Mages.
rings and
So-
ice walking.
Jesus Christ.
Can
Yep.
somebody
R3
res
walk
somebody?
though.
No, I'm basking in my glory right now. Hold on.
Get him.
Okay.
I think we're gonna be featured in his fucking next video. On that one.
It was a tougher week this week. Like, there was no new boss kills, sorry to say. Sorry to disappoint, I guess. It's the problem that we get when we have a team that I let people just come and go as they please. So like one day we're way over on healers, and the next day we've got to experiment by only having 1 healer per group on Anduin during those down phases. So it's pretty demanding. But then I ran a 16 with some people from the team, and we didn't time it because, you know me and not knowing routes. Like, this time I was asked to do all sorts of pulls that I've never done before, but in terms of just survivability, like, can I take it? Whew, 16s are way easier than Heroic Anduin, just an opinion there. Now, you might have noticed today that I'm using my other style of presentation here on the weekly. I don't usually do this because, deep breath now, usually the weekly is a bit faster paced with numerous cuts, and I talk faster to maybe keep people's attention. But today I slowed it down, talking as fast as I talk naturally, a bit more comfortable, relaxed, and I'm curious if 1, you noticed, and 2, if you liked it or not. And breathe. Whew. I want to thank the wonderful folks over on Twitch for being such great company as we farmed our faces off and just kind of hung out. Thanks to our patrons to keep my coffee supply up. Right, yeah, okay. And to you, viewer, thank you for sharing your time with me. Now, I'd love it if you were to like the video for the vibes, subscribe for more of this content, maybe support us as a fellow patron, but otherwise, I will see you when I see you. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.